Yeah. Welcome to the Gunny Gumby Show. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
And we're back. Another episode of Hangar Hangout, episode 80. Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know how to put it into words. Like, I remember when I first wanted to go ahead and get on here and start doing a podcast and chopping up with you guys, man. It was one of those things where there's a lot of great Jets content creators. A lot of Jets content creators, man. And because of it, it feels like before you get in front of a camera, you need to you know what I'm saying? You need to get yourself situated, because the last thing you want to do is to get out here and just look dumb because you don't know what you're talking about. And that's one reason why I think a lot of individuals tend to just kind of stay off of the social media presence, man. And I was one of those guys. But this has been fun. Like, this has been fun, man. Like, here we are, episode freaking 80 of the Hangar Hangout. And I used to do some things before this, but and I digress because it didn't work out too well. The taco, I don't know if y'all been with me since the beginning, but I used to do this thing called like Taco Tuesday, right? Where I would go ahead and make a taco, show you the recipe, do a taste test of it, and then freaking talk about freaking the Jets. It's been an up and down. It's been fun, but up and down, right, to get to this point. But here we are. The Hangar Hangout has stuck. You guys have stuck it out with me, man. You guys have jumped on whenever the show comes on. I appreciate you all. It means a great deal to me. Jets Worldwide, what's going on, brother? I see you in the building. Looking forward to chopping it up with you on Friday night. Anthony, what's going on, man? Jet to F up. Would not be mad at either Reese or Styles. And we're going to get into that today. We got a very special guest. Dom C, the guru, is going to be on with us tonight, and he's going to go ahead and give us his thought process on where the Jets should go and what they should be doing in this coming NFL draft. So I'm pumped to have him on the show tonight. It's been a while since me and Dom chopped it up. On the show. We talk like every day freaking on our social media app and through text, but together on the show. Wild Chew, what's going on, man? Nice to see you. Kyle Clifton, I just enjoy chopping up with Jets fans. Kyle, legitimately, man, like this was the only reason why I jumped on here and started saying, like, who cares if I sound stupid? I'm a Jets fan. I'm not a professional. I'm just going to get out here and just talk to fellow Jets fans and see where this goes. And it's been a blast. I've met some incredible Jets fans. I met some incredible freaking non-Jets fans doing this podcast. So it's been well worth it. And again, I'm going to be the first to say it, man. If you're somebody who's out there and thinks they want to go ahead and do the podcast thing, don't stop trying for everything to be perfect. Just get in front of a camera and talk, because you're going to reach an audience. It might be freaking 5 people. It might be 100 people. You know what I'm saying? We can't all be the Jake Asmans of the world, but like, it's awesome just being able to reach other Jets fans, specifically in other areas, especially since I'm out here in Houston, Texas. So I appreciate you guys, Kyle. It's all about the Jets fans, man. Appreciate you for being here. Dr. Dirty Coach MD, what's up, sexy peoples? What's up, Doctor? Nice to see you in the house. Boba Jet, what's going on, man? Another content creator I just love watching on freaking TikTok, dog. Like you, yeah, man. Like, your stuff is awesome. I love the theme. I love the Boba Jet. I got to get you on the show too sometime, Boba Jet. We got to go ahead and chop it up. I'm gonna reach out to you on TikTok. Miguel, what's going on? William Guerrero, did the Jets send a big contingency to the Penn State Pro Day? Did Muji attend? All great questions. We're going to get into it. I see Dom C just got into the chat, so I'm not going to go ahead and waste too much time. It's welcome back to the Situation Report, man. Tonight we are locked in, and I've got somebody in the hangar, you know what I'm saying, that I think you're all going to enjoy and want to hear from. If you don't know who Dom C is, you're missing out. This is a guy who does a lot of research when it comes to the draft. Dom C is the guru. He's the guy that we all go to and ask questions whenever we're not too sure about what we're looking at. He's the guy that I've literally picked his brain on what he's looking at when he's analyzing tape. Dom C is the truth. He's in here, man. He's one of the sharpest draft minds I've ever had on this show. Like, legitimately, the dude knows his stuff. So he knows the prospects, not shy about his opinion. So he's going to go ahead and tell you all how he feels about it. I'm not wasting any more time, man. Without further ado, my guy, freaking Dom C. Welcome to the Hangar Hangout, episode freaking 80. What's up, Dom? How you doing?
Gunny, my dude, I'm good, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship, first and foremost, man. No one, we don't talk aloud like that too much, and that needs to be said. And I appreciate you having me on the show. And I'm jealous as shit because your camera's always so spot on, bro.
Hey,
your
listen,
camera
man,
is the truth, man.
I'll say this, man. Like I get this praise all the time, right, for this camera. So I appreciate the love. Good looking out, Dom. I do enjoy the fact that you individuals enjoy the visuals. That's the whole point. But yeah, the wife is who I got to give props. So you guys all know this, man. My whole backdrop, everything. The wife set my studio up. I used to have it to where just like one jersey behind me. I had a camera that was like kind of low down here looking up. But the wife, being the guru that she was, you know what I'm saying, talked about the camera, talked about the backdrop, and here we are today. So again, shout out to the wife, the Mrs. Gunny. Because if not for her, I don't get these awesome compliments about the backdrop and, of course, the camera, man. Dom, my guy, the draft right around the corner. This is where you love to shine. This is your thing.
This is my thing, man. I guess. First off, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, you coming in great. You coming in great.
All right, because I've been having issues with the mic. That's all. Yeah, man, we're getting there. You know, it's probably closer to about a month. You know, until the 23rd. Lot of moving parts gonna happen between now and then, Gunny. You see all the pro days happening and all that stuff. As a matter of fact, you know, shameless plug, you know, for I know you know, but if others don't, like I track all the prospect visits every, you know, from All-Star season straight through for everything from the American Bowl, the Hula Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine Game, all the pro day visits, all the meetings, all the online meetings. I track it all. So I got a lot of updating to do because normal life, not draft life, has been taking me all over the place the past couple weeks. So I'm a little bit behind on that. So you know, if you are interested in any of that stuff, I keep a Google Doc that's always pinned to my Twitter. You can always access it whenever you want. And like I said, I got some updating to do because Jets were at Penn State today. Okay. And the buzz that I hear, maybe you like it or not, is that you know, the Jets contingency that was there, which included Jay Mandolesi, who's like their director of college scouting, came away very, very smitten with one Drew Allar. Yeah. Amongst other people, but that's the vibe that I was getting. And
I like that.
And it's interesting, Gunny, because truth be told, like I'm not a huge fan. You know, I understand, like, you know, he's an East Coast boy, you know, so, he can play, he can play in the cold. He's got the big hands. You know, he's like I said, he's from the East Coast, played football at Penn State, you know, short sleeve wearing motherfucker in the snow, like that kind of attitude.
I like that guy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he kind of looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. You know what I mean? At least that's what his film tells me. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see how much they really like him and so on and so forth. And listen, Penn State has a bevy of different guys that are entering this draft that could be of interest. You know, my number 8 player in the entire class, you know, Vega Ioane, the guard from Penn State, is you know, everyone was there to see him, and they got an edge rusher that's going to get drafted in the first 3 rounds. They got a safety that's going to come off the board early. You got Drew Allar. You got 2 running backs that are probably going to see their names called before the end of round 4. One of them has had multiple visits now, including a top 30 visit with the Jets. So a lot of good stuff happened in Penn State. And listen, we've dipped into that pond recently, you know, with Olu, who was there, who was also one of the Jets contingency at the pro day today. Olu Fashanu, yeah.
All right.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So
listen,
good stuff. Yeah.
I know how you feel about Drew. Like, I know we talk regularly, man. I've seen this in the group. You are not a fan. I love the big arm. I love the potential. Yeah. This was a guy who had a first round grade on him last year. Granted, he went back to school and now he's fallen into the 4th, 5th round. So I'm gonna pick your brain on Drew because I love him. If the Jets love him and they want to bring him in at 4th, I'd be ecstatic about that. But again, I'm not Dom C. I'm just going off of my feelings here. So Dom, I'm gonna definitely pick your brain on Drew Aller.
So I mean, listen. And this tells you what you need to know about this quarterback class. Drew Aller's my 5th rated quarterback, 5th highest graded. He's a 4th round grade, and that's a middle 4th, like a solid 4th. He's not high, he's not low. He was, before everyone decided to go back to school, he was like 10th. So that tells you everything. It tells you everything about this quarterback class. I think you said it very eloquently. Like, he's got the size, he's got the frame. He's 6'5", 240 pounds. He's mobile. He's not like dual threat mobile, but he can definitely affect a game with his legs, positively. He's got, he's a plus athlete. A huge arm, huge arm. And tough as nails, man. Like I said, you like guys, or I want my football team to wear T-shirt at the University of Michigan when it's 3 degrees below zero, -3 degrees, and he's out there in a T-shirt. Like that's the mentality I want on my football players, and that's what you're gonna get with Drew Aller. He's got nice zip. He does make some real NFL throws. I think he maneuvers the pocket okay. I think there's room for growth in that, and so I'm talking about like all the traits that kind of bring him home as that traditional pocket passer, the kind of guy that Frank Reich likes. Like I said, I think he's tough as nails. I think he's a tough runner. Had over 25 missed forced tackles last year, 2-year captain. All that stuff is good. What I can't get through, and what really brings me back to Drew Aller is like under pressure, and in the biggest moments, he seems to be just kind of shrivel and play his worst football. So all those other accolades and all that other stuff really doesn't mean nothing when the game's on the line, because he kind of runs and hides. Not literally runs and hides, but he just does he just disappears. The moment sometimes is way too big for him. That, and along the lines that he's like, for a guy who has that huge arm, and has had success pushing the ball vertically, he's the percentage of checkdowns is just way too high. He's like like I said, plays like Tarzan, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. He's checked down Charlie. He's always a hair late, in his anticipation. Pressure in his face, his completion percentage drops, right off the roof. I'm going back to 24 because last year he got hurt, so you got to give, he didn't get a full, acquiescence of 2025 football. So going back to 2024, he threw for 3,300 yards and 24 touchdowns, and a 73% completion percentage, which is great. Under pressure, that completion percentage dropped to 29%, and his pressure to sack rate was over 30, which is not good.
That's not good.
No, just not good. So, anything 20 more is anything 20% or more is really, really high. So, telling me that he's not understanding or not feeling where the pressure's coming from, or how to evade or escape, or what to do in those situations, kind of those deer in a headlight moments are way too much. So you get a guy that can't throw the ball very well with anticipation, and gets stuck in, has those deer in a headlight moments. Like, to me, that's a guy that's going to need, like, the hand of Jesus himself to kind of overcome some of that stuff. And that ain't happening with Aaron Glenn. It just ain't. It just ain't. You know what I mean?
So I got a question for you guys, since we're already here with when it comes to Drew Aller. So there's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 years, where I feel like, and I don't know if it's there's been like comparisons to him being the poor man Josh Allen, right? Like he's not an athletic freak like Josh Allen, but big, freaking strong body guy. Again, the inaccuracy showed up on tape for Josh Allen coming out. But Josh Allen, to me, I think was more an anomaly than anything else. You don't usually see guys get better, in terms of accuracy and technique and whatnot at the NFL level. Josh Allen did it. So you're seeing some people kind of like make those comparisons because of the body style. He's got a little bit of wiggle to him. He's not Josh Allen freaking elite in terms of athleticism, but he's got some to him, and he's got that strong arm. Is there a world in which freaking Drew Aller, in your mind, could become a poor man's freaking Josh, a great value version of Josh Allen?
Probably not. But I think there's a world, and take this for what it is. I think there's a world where if he gets put into the right situation, with the right minds, with the right head coach, with the right coaching system, where they're not forcing him, they're not force feeding him, the keys to the castle too early. I think he has a chance to be a high end. What's the best way to put this? I think his ceiling is more Trent Dilfer than it is Josh Allen. And listen, what was Trent Dilfer? To me, first off, Trent Dilfer is a Super Bowl champion, right?
Yeah.
And Trent Dilfer is the quintessential game manager. He's going to do the right things at the right times and not lose games for you. You know what I mean? I think that's what I think that's Drew Aller. Now, he's got I hope he can turn into Josh Allen. I don't want to sound like I dislike the young man. He's 21 years old, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
I think that he needs, like I said, I just think he needs a lot of work, man.
Okay.
He needs a lot of
Fair
work.
enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. We got a super chat in the building. I got to give a shout out to this guy, man. Jake Asman. Appreciate the love, my guy. Ghani and Dom C. This is what dreams are made of. I appreciate that, Jake. Appreciate the super chat, man, and appreciate the compliment. I was just saying we can't all be Jake in terms of freaking the hundreds upon hundreds of viewers at a time. But again, the reason we do this is to go ahead and chop it up with Jets fans. And this is what it is. It's a Jets fans community. So I appreciate you, Jake, for stopping in. I know you were a busy dude. Hopefully you stick around for a little bit. All right. So, you know what? I'm going to just get right to it. So, we already kind of jumped the gun a little bit, right? And we talked about Drew Aller. So, that was going to be a guy I asked you about later on, but that it is what it is.
Yeah, we got into the Penn State thing. So, sorry if I kind of...
No. You're good. It rolled right into it. It just made sense, right? So, first, let me just go ahead and kind of lay the groundwork, right? So, before we really get into it, I kind of want to set the table a little bit so we kind of get an understanding of what we're looking at, right? So, the Jets went into this free agency window with a laundry list of needs. And I think Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn came out swinging. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with some of the moves that these guys made. So I want to get your take on that as well. Okay. We were able to go ahead and get Geno Smith back at quarterback via a trade from the Raiders. We got Minkah Fitzpatrick at safety, Joseph Ossai on the edge, Demario Davis back at linebacker, T'Vondre Sweat in the middle. The defense got a serious facelift, in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of guys now who I think answer some questions we were having last year in terms of being able to stop the run, hopefully getting some turnovers, all issues we saw last year. So I want to know what your read is on what the Jets actually did. And more importantly, what does all of that mean for how they approach this coming draft?
Well, I mean, I'll answer the first part of the question first. What they actually did is, I think, raise the floor of this roster, right? Okay. Gone are the days where we're going to have to see, praise the Lord. Michael Clemens is out of here.
He's gone. Finally.
Michael Clemens got paid too. Three for 19.
Ridiculous.
3 for 19.
I love that though. The Colts did that. I love that. I hope he brings us that first overall pick. Go do your thing there, Michael Clemens.
But forget about Michael Clemens. Like, gone are the days that we'll probably see the lights of Eric Watts and all those that the numerous of hack receivers that we had in this spending time running routes, back there, and the Braden McGregors of the world. Gone are the days where we're gonna, rely on Marcelino McCrary-Ball to play 60% of the snaps on defense. We raised the floor of the roster first and foremost. Secondly, I think what they did is, they took they added some a veteran presence, at different levels, and more so, forget about positionally on the field. I think they added some more veteran presence to help in the locker room. Even with Demario Davis, what's he, 36 years old, 37
He's
years old?
37. Yeah,
And
37.
David Onyemata, who's 33. Even with those guys, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's 30. The Jets are still the third youngest roster in the NFL.
Yep.
Still the third youngest roster in the NFL. So, they were relying on guys like Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson to really be a leader. John Simpson were the real leaders of the locker room. Harrison Phillips, when he came in, he seemed to start to take some of those controls. And I'm not saying Jermaine Johnson was a bad leader or Sauce Gardner was a bad leader, but they were just young. You know what I mean? I think so. What you did is you brought some real veteran presence in Geno Smith, in David Onyemata, in Demario Davis. These guys are going to, Minkah Fitzpatrick, these guys are going to help get, get the young guys kind of on the straight and narrow and really with an eye on the prize on how to get from point A to point B. You know what I mean? I don't think that there's anyone that we added that I was jumping for joy over. I think I think my favorite move of the entire offseason was probably the trade for T'Vondre Sweat, because for me, I think it was, and I should say, and I really like, I know I'm in the minority of this, but I really like the Dylan Parham addition. One, I think it solidifies, he's not AVT, that's fine. But again, he's a younger guy, coming into that second contract. Usually these guys, these offensive linemen at this age is 26, 27. It's really when they start to get their feet under them. It starts to click. And I like his physical nature paired up on the left side next to Olu Fashanu. I think that's a yin and a yang that is going to work very, very well. I don't think they're done on the offensive line, but outside of the Dylan Parham, I think the T'Vondre Sweat deal was my favorite because at least it established an identity. You know what they're going to do. They made a point on defense this offseason that said, we got gashed in the run game last year. We are not going to get gashed in the run game. You might throw for 600 yards against us, and that's the case. That might happen. All right, but run defense is an attitude. Run defense, is a want to. It's not a have to. It's a have to, but you got to want to play run defense, right? You got to want to get physical. You got to want to get that. T'Vondre Sweat is a phenomenal run defender. Demario Davis, still a top 7 linebacker, playing within the tackle box, coming downhill for the past 8 years. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Dane Belton. Dane Belton is, the forgotten signing. That guy can really, really come downhill and tackle in space. He's got a 3% career missed tackle rate for his life. Gone are the days of Tony Adams and what's his face? Oh my God, who's the guy that was there? Ashton Davis, coming in bad angles and missing tackles. Gone are those days. They made a point that they wanted to get more physical. David Onyemata, physical run defense. So, they're shoring up a lot right there. I still think there's a lot of work to do on the defense, but they raised the floor. They raised the floor of the team and really put a little bit of identity. This is going to be a really tough team, real physical defense, right from the jump. I think you got some guys that can come in and are not going to get pushed around and are going to be tone setters. So I like that. Now, the back of the defense, that's the front 7. The back 7, I'm a little scared, not gonna lie.
Yeah, listen, I'll say this. When I saw the free agency period, I feel like the New York Jets focused on answering a question or giving us a solution to problems that we had last year, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting Minkah Fitzpatrick in his prime. I saw a lot of individuals get really hyped about listen, you're getting a good safety. He's on the back end of his career. He had 1 interception last year. You know what I'm saying? Is he on the decline? He may very well be.
So to that point, though, he had 1 interception. He did.
Right.
But he was responsible for 7 turnovers. right? Because he had 3 forced fumbles, he recovered
Yeah,
he covered another 2, and so on and so forth. So, we need guys that can force turnovers and that can take the ball away, right?
Right.
And I think with Nashawn Wright, who I think is going to compete for a starting role, I think there's a very, very good chance that he pushes either Brandon Stevens or AZ Thomas for a starting role. Now, I'm guessing, and this is just, there's no fact to this. This is not insider knowledge, but I'm guessing that they're concerned that AZ Thomas isn't going to be fully healthy for the start of the season.
Okay.
Which is why they went.
Which is possible. Yeah.
I mean, he literally just had shoulder surgery, a second one. So
was it another one? I didn't know that one.
Yeah. So I think that that might be the reason to sign him, because outside of that, I mean, the price was right. It's only $5 million. It's only a 1-year deal. But so I think he takes the ball away. He plays. He's long. Like AZ Thomas, he's physical on the outside. He's long. He can play press. I think they still think Brandon Stevens can play press. I think Brandon Stevens got a bad rap last year. He had a couple bad games to start off, but he finished out very well. He's actually really good in the perimeter versus the run. I think he's a plus there. I think you have Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's going to play a lot more of that Brian Branch role, more so than the Kirby Joseph role. So he's going to be kind of that post to slot kind of big nickel kind of cornerback. So, they're going to be able to match up with Brownlee in 11 personnel versus fast guys, at the slot. And then in bigger formations, which the NFL is trending towards playing a lot more 12 and 13 personnel and 22, you could bring Minkah down and still be in sub packages, right? So it gives a lot of versatility to what Aaron Glenn can do running this defense. And listen, I'm not sure about Joseph Ossai. Wasn't my favorite signing. Reminds me a lot of like what Brandon Stevens was last year. Like, man, he kind of, ran through his first contract a little bit, kind of underwhelming, or really didn't really meet the mark. So maybe they see something in him that they can get out of him. Kingsley and Agbari, I think, is a physical stand-up, edge setter, and that could, who's got a little giddy up that can rush power, that can handle that power rush. So, a lot of what Jermaine Johnson used to do, Kingsley and Agbari can do. And then you got, picks number 2, 16, 33, and 44 to address it. I think they still need to get one. I would get one more really, really focused pass rusher, whether it be, in addition to what you do at 2, maybe double dip at the position. I would probably do that, because I think that the team, could benefit that. And then you go from there and see what you got. Like, this is all going to be about coaching, man. It's always about coaching. It's always about quarterback play. People tell you different.
I see Buffalo Jet fan real quick. You jumped right into freaking the picks. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you my next question real quick. Buffalo Jets fan, appreciate you, brother, man. Nice to see you. Another guy that's in our universal group chat that we always chop it up and just talk Jets football. Appreciate you, Buffalo, for being in the chat. We had another super chat. Kyle Clifton. He goes, if analysis including Dom, Kuiper, and McShay, Jeremiah, and Klatt have loaned in their top 20 players as best interior offensive linemen, why is it weird?
It's actually Ioane. It's Venga. Like, it sounds like Venga. Right. Venga Ioane.
Huh. That's a unique one.
Yeah.
So he's asking why we're taking him at number 16.
So I think, hang on one second. I think he's in the discussion. Listen, I think, and I'll say this might be high praise. Venga Ioane is the best interior offensive lineman that I've watched, scouted, and graded in the past 5-6 years.
Wow.
I think he's that. I think he's that good. I do. So is he in the discussion for 16? Yes, he is in the discussion for me. I think that he comes in and he's a plug and play guy, and he's probably, an all pro for many, maybe not year one, but for many years to come. The problem is when you talk about needs on this team, I don't think that I don't think that you can usurp or pass up the whole glaring hole at wide receiver. So to me, if you're gonna go in the defense with pick 2, you have to really address wide receiver at pick 16. So you're just not going to get Ioane. And listen, there's not a chance, there's no guarantee that he falls to 16 anyway. I it would not surprise me at all if he hears his name called in the top 10.
Okay, so Kyle also added to it saying that McShay compared him to Nelson. Is he that good?
Quentin Nelson, he is. He's. I told you he's the. I mean, for take it for what it's worth. It's only little me, but he's the best interior offensive lineman that I've graded and scouted in 5 years. Really, really involved doing this.
Damn. Okay. No chance we take him. You don't think? I mean, I guess you're right.
I'm not saying there's no chance. I think he's going to be square in the conversation if he's there at 16. And rightfully so. I know that Jets fans and maybe some of you guys in the chat don't want to hear it because I don't know, they're offensive linemen in the first round. Like, I'm about getting good football players. Just give me good football players and we'll figure it out. The reality is I don't think that this is going to be the team, or this is going to be the head coach that kind of leads this team, over the threshold. So Get me as many good players as you can for the next guy.
Yep, we're on the same page there. We're on the exact same page there.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's get into it. We were talking about all these prospects, but let's go right to the top, Dom. I mean, the Jets hold the number 2 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Mm-hmm. Number 1 is obviously locked in. I think without question, Fernando Mendoza is going to the Raiders. It's a done deal. So the draft really starts with the Jets. That's where the debate really lives. So now the consensus right now is leaning very heavily towards Arvell Reese out of Ohio State, right? So walk me through why Reese makes sense for what Aaron Glenn is building in this defense.
Well, Reese makes sense, I think, because he's probably when you talk about traits and projection, there's probably no better player that kind of blends those high end traits and projects to be a super high ceiling player, more so than Arvell Reese. Remember, Gunny, first off, he's just 20 years old. He is still a little boy, if you will.
He's a kid.
Yep. He's a kid. He's 243 pounds. He has the frame that can probably withstand another 10 to 15 pounds and without affecting any of his movement skills. He's an elite athletic freak. Where does he fit? I think he fits any defense. I think that, when you talk about the, you're a basketball fan, you know how like a lot of teams are going to like positionless basketball, right? They just got 5 guys out there. Like, you're going to see a transformation. It will never be completely like 11 positionless defenders, but I think guys in the, that are playing that second level defense, the linebackers, and even to the third level with the safeties, you're starting to see it now where it's a mixed bag, right? You got safeties that can play sub package linebacker. You got linebackers that drop back into, deep thirds and stuff like that. I mean, hell, there's guys that made livings of that playing, Tampa 2 middle linebacker and just dropping back and playing deep center field. You're starting to see about that. So Arvell Reese is that amoeba. Yeah, he's like that amoeba defender. You want him to play on the edge, he can play on the edge. You want to use him in like that stunt and twist game where he can start on the edge and come around, or vice versa. He can do that. You want him to line up off ball and run and chase, in chase technique with tight ends and linebacker, or tight ends and running backs. He can do that. He can fit the run coming downhill. He's probably the single strongest run defender in this entire draft class.
Really?
Yeah, I think I think that's his forte, is that he's got like mutant like next level strength, and he plays with that physicality. Like he is an edge defender, that plays he's an edge defender that plays off ball linebacker, and people will tell you it's the opposite. But I would beg to differ. There's a lot of projection in Arvell Reese, right? He's only got 160 snaps as a true edge rusher last year, but in those 160 snaps, 28 pressures and 8 sacks.
Yeah, I like those numbers.
Yeah, and what he also did, and I think doesn't get talked enough a lot. You'll hear a lot of people, the anti-Arvell Reese gang, will tell you that he only had 3 tackles in the last 5 games, no sacks. Go watch the film and ask what and look at what he was asked to do, right? He spied the best quarterbacks in the country, and they just put him as a spy, and he just sat and shadowed and make sure that the quarterback didn't beat him with his feet. Guess what? We have Drake May and Josh Allen in our division. Facts. You're gonna need a spy like that, So for me, Arvell Reese is not my top rated player not my top graded player. Okay. He's number 4. Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, and Jeremiah Love in that order are 1, 2, and 3. They were my top 3 highest graded players, but I think Arvell Reese might have the best and highest upside, and I think he fits what the Jets need in terms of his ability, his strength, his athletic profile, his sky high projection, and his ability to take on more mass and get stronger and kind of develop on the fly. I mean, I would take Arvell Reese right now if I'm picking number 2.
Wow. Okay. So then I gotta ask this, because you did bring up Sonny Styles being graded higher than Arvell Reese. So if obviously it's going to be between, again, Mendoza's going.
So I graded out, just so you know, and it's it's not really apples to apples, because I graded Sonny Styles as a linebacker, and I graded Arvell Reese, tipped up against the rest of the edges.
Okay. So then I actually saw a question that makes a lot of. I wanted to focus on. Boom, boom, boom. He asked, where is it? Okay, boom. Can Styles play on the edge too? And some would say he's been more proven than Reese as of late.
Sonny Styles had a great season. There's no denying. Sonny Styles is really, really good at football. I don't know if I'm lining him up full time on the edge. I don't think he has the same functional strength as Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese will take on pulling guards, pulling mammoth, Big Ten pulling guards. You're talking like 320 and change, and he'll take them on. He'll take them on at the point of attack and knock them on their ass. I don't think that's happening. I don't think Sonny Styles is doing that.
I mean, the dude did put on a show at the combine, right? Like, he got historic numbers, 6'4", 233, runs like a missile. I mean, Jeremiah even compared him to being Fred Warner, right? So
athlete, absolutely. Okay. There's no doubt there's athletic. There's no doubt that, he can get downhill in a hurry. He can fill gaps and stuff like that. I still don't know if he's as physically imposing as Arvell Reese. Actually, I'm not going to say that. I know he's not as physically imposing as Arvell Reese. I'm not saying he's a bad player. Right. Would I play him at the edge? I probably wouldn't. Would I blitz him sometimes off the edge? From yeah, you can do that. But as a full-time edge defender, Sonny Styles not going to do that. Sonny Styles is going to be my Mike. He's going to play sideline to sideline behind some of these fat, two gapping fatties like we have with Juwan Briggs and Harrison Phillips and T'Vondre Sweat. And that stuff's going to let Sonny Styles roam free in the interior, in the middle, which is why I'm banking on. I know I'm one of the few, but I'm banking on a huge improvement this year in Jamin Sherwood. I think these guys in front of him that are taking up a lot of the, eating up a lot of the space and taking up a lot of blockers is going to allow Jamin Sherwood to play a lot more free and play in a lot more space where he excels. Where he doesn't excel is trying to stack and shed blockers and fight and play in the mud and get all that stuff in that tackle box. That's where he does not excel. So
Okay, all right. So Arvell, we were talking about edge rushers. So
yeah.
So Kuiper, I think, just went on record saying that the Jets definitively need to have an instant impact pass rusher, right? And he's flip-flopped between Reese, Bailey, and Downs at this pick. David Bailey, out of Texas Tech, had the best pass rush grade in college football last season. I think he had like a 93.8 or something like that per PFF. Mm-hmm. And then there's Rueben Bain Jr. out of Miami, who was just a problem every single snap. Like when you watch the tape, the kid just couldn't be blocked, even with those short arms. If somehow Reese is... Let's just say for some ridiculous scenario, right? That Reese is off the board, and the Raiders shock us, right? And they decide to go Arvell Reese because of the ceiling he brings to the table. Do you see a scenario where the Jets would shift gears towards quarterback, or perhaps or one of these other freaking edge rushers an option?
I think it wouldn't even take the Jets a half of a second to get that card up and take Fernando Mendoza, but. Speaking of the other, so that scenario is hard to answer that one. But speaking of the other edge rushers, which one do I think would be more of a Aaron Glenn type? I you know what? That's between those two, between Bain and Bailey. That to me, that's a tough decision. I know who I like better, but I don't know who Aaron Glenn would like better because they're really, really two different types of players, right? The way they play, their physical style, their skill sets, completely different. I would probably choose Rueben Bain over David Bailey. And I know that people are going to say he's undersized, 260 pounds, short arms, this and that. Like, the guy just knows how to rush the passer. There's a reason why he was so effective at college. First off, kudos to his coach, Jason Taylor, one of the GOATs, one of the best. Yep. But that dude got Akeem Mesidor and Rueben Bain just fucking playing ball. Just playing ball, man. I don't care that he's got short arms because he's got the best, maybe the best set of hands that I've ever seen in the defensive end. The way he times his strikes and counters and swipes and all that stuff. You can't get into Rueben Bain's chest because his hand fighting is so good. And there's so many different ways he can beat you. He can beat you with a long arm. He can convert speed to power. He can bull rush your ass. He's the perfect guy to play those twist and stunt games with the interior guys and the outside. You can even reduce him down and blitz him from the inside, a la Quinnen Williams, if you wanted to, and he'd excel at that. So for me, I think Rueben Bain, when you're talking about these defenders, these front seven defenders, after Reese, I would side with Bain, and then I'd side with Bailey. And truth be told, I'd be fine with any one of them. My theory, my thoughts is that Bailey is he's a little too much like Will McDonald. And I think especially early on in his career, you're going to be at a distinct disadvantage if you have David Bailey and Will McDonald on the field at the same time, in early down situations. I just think that they're both, they're not net positives versus the run yet. I'm not going to say they can't play the run. I'm going to say their strong point isn't setting edges. So they can, David Bailey, to me, I think year one is going to be more of a 2-down player, maybe a 2.5 down player. He's not an every down player.
Okay, you know what? Let's get right to it. So I'm gonna just ask you this straight up.
Shoot.
Bottom line it for me: when Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji walk up to that podium on April 23rd in Pittsburgh, what name are they handing that card in with for the number 2 overall pick?
I think it's Arvell Reese.
Arvell Reese.
Yep.
Yeah. And when we say Arvell Reese, so do you feel Arvell Reese is one of those guys that I saw somebody mention, like, who's the next, like, Lawrence Taylor? I think it was I don't know if he's got Lawrence Taylor ability because that dude was different, but Jets Worldwide wants to know who's the next Lawrence Taylor. Is it Reese or Styles? So are we going to be happy we want to be picking Reese over Styles, or are we going to have regrets, you think, down the line?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess we'll see. They're both talented players. I know that people seem to think that there's three guys that have, like I've heard that I'm not, and this is way, way, way overshooting the mark here, but I've heard people in my tight knit, scout circle has said they can see Sonny Styles and they could see Minkah Fitzpatrick with gold jackets on when they end their careers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's pick number 2. So I guess we got to jump into the next big thing. You said it earlier as well in terms of the need the Jets are going to have specifically on offense at wide receiver, right?
Yep.
So let's pivot to what I think is obviously one of the more important conversations for Jets fans outside that number 2 pick, the wide receiver room. We were hearing rumors about Brian Thomas Jr. I know we just heard some rumors right now in regards to the guy out of Minnesota. I forget his name right now.
Jordan Addison.
Yeah, Jordan Addison right now is out there as well. The Jets have, 2 second-round picks that might be able to get the job done. But that wide receiver room needs help. This team went into free agency just with Garrett Wilson and a bunch of guys nobody's really scared of. We're kind of hoping Adai Mitchell winds up becoming a dude. We lost Mechie in free agency. They didn't add a single wide receiver. So the top wide receiver last year, I mean, he didn't hit 400 yards. Like Garrett Wilson was hurt, 400 receiving yards, and that was our top guy. So with Geno Smith now under center, that means there's going to be a need for weapons. Like we've got to go ahead and put some weapons in this building. So how urgent is it that the Jets come out of this draft with a legitimate number 2 wideout?
I think it's of paramount importance. I think it's of paramount importance. This is and why I say that. Listen, I don't think a wideout at 16 is going to be, the make or break to the Jets making the playoffs or not, But if the offense is going to be any sort of effective, right? You have to at least show or at least give the opposition the idea that you might be pressing the ball downfield or throwing the ball downfield. Think of the past few years, Gunny, right? Think of the Zach Wilson era. Think of the Zach Wilson era. And what's the one thing that you can remember at Zach Wilson era? I know what I can remember is that our offensive line took a beating and our running backs took a beating because there was 9 up in the 8 or 9 guys in the box at all time.
Yeah.
Teams dared Zach Wilson to throw the ball. I mean,
Yep.
Bill Belichick literally said it in a press conference. Like we're gonna put everyone. We put everyone up front, and we wanted 2 to beat it. We put it on 2 to beat us. 2 couldn't beat us. Meaning Zach Wilson number 2.
Yeah.
And then we have the, obviously the Aaron Rodgers debacle gets hurt and this, that, and the other thing. But then you move to Justin Fields and you got a lot of the same thing. So we've had it where there hasn't been much of that, outside of the, the Aaron Rodgers second year when everything else fell apart. There hasn't been much with this offense that was very, very intimidating or anything that you had to really game plan of. It was like stack the box, take Breece Hall out of the equation, run blitz the hell out of everyone and let the quarterback beat you, So you got to have Geno Smith be better than what Justin Fields and Zach Wilson was doing, on the surface, maybe said a little biased. I hope, I think that he can. We might also be seeing, the downfall of Geno Smith starting last year, and we might just be getting the remnants of it. But
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. I know that without a weapon or 2 added to this offense, we're not going to really see if we have Geno Smith maximized at all. So to me, this wide receiver room is the pits. I love Garrett Wilson. I absolutely do. I think Garrett Wilson's wonderful. I think Garrett Wilson needs a running mate. And when you look at this wide receiver class, people will tell you it's a deep wide receiver class. I would tell you, Gunny, don't listen to people. It is not very deep. This is, to me, this is a 4-person class. You want to get your hands on one of those guys in that tier, that top 4 tier. And after that, you might find a diamond in a rough. You might, I'm not saying they're all bad, but when you're talking about a legitimate wide receiver 2 with a wide receiver 1 upside, there's 4 guys in this draft class. After that, no bueno.
Oof, all right. So then the conversation at pick 16, which is where the Jets obviously would sit with their second first rounder.
Correct.
You've got Mekhi Lemon out of USC, who I think Jeremiah says is going to draw Amon St. Brown type of comparisons. You've got Carnell Tate from Ohio State, Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, which a lot of people believe is the best wide receiver in this draft class. Yep. The injury bug is the biggest concern with him. Then you got Denzel Boston out of Washington. So now if the Jets,
not for me.
No.
Denzel Boston is not my top 4. Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana.
Omar Cooper. Okay, so who's your guy? Who are the guys? Who's the guy the Jets are going to get at number 16?
I don't think Carnell Tate will be on the board. Although I would love Carnell Tate.
I would love Carnell Tate.
So how I have him, and it's just me. 1A is Carnell Tate. 1B is Jordan Tyson, and Jordan Tyson probably would be my wide receiver 1. If I could assure that he would stay on the field. He's missed 44 of 88 collegiate opportunity games. Yeah. He's missed 44 games. And, although the hamstring, he had a devastating knee injury a few years ago. He had the same one that Javonte Williams had, where he tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL. Pretty much his knee was just hanging by his patella tendon.
Yeah.
So, it took him a while to get back from that. And then this year and then after that, he had a collarbone injury. He's had 2 collarbone injuries, which is scary because those are you get tackled, those are susceptible to re-break.
Right.
And then this year he dealt with that nagging hamstring thing that took him out of the last 6 games of the season and was still nagging him that he didn't do anything at the combine. And I'm not sure he's doing anything or did anything at his pro day either. I can't say for certain because I haven't followed up to see if or when Arizona has their pro day. But Tyson is legit. I think Tyson, of all the guys in this class, I think Tyson has the opportunity to be the true alpha, right? He has the chance. His ceiling is Justin Jefferson.
Whew.
I'm not saying he is. That's not a pro comp.
I
understand what I'm saying. His ceiling is a top receiver in this league. The smoothness and the ability to break off his routes at the top of the stem. His ability to gain separation. I think he's like he reminds me a lot as a route runner and his ability to get off press. He reminds me so much of Garrett Wilson. So what's better than 1 Garrett Wilson would be 2 Garrett Wilsons, right?
Yeah, not hard to argue that. I mean, again, I'm a big fan of Lemon per se, right? I think I do love the Amon St. Brown type of connection there in terms of his smoothness. The kid catches everything. He doesn't drop the ball. He can go ahead and work for you in the slot.
He's strong. He's strong as a. Yep. Can I curse on this show?
No, by all means.
He's strong as a motherfucker, man.
Yep,
he's strong. And that strength doesn't just come like not only at the catch point where he's really good, not only with the ball in his hands with the yards after the catch stuff, but you take for granted you can play him as an insert blocker. You can put him in motion and have him crack down on defensive ends and linebackers. He's a plus. He's a net positive. Alan Lazard style as a run blocker at 5'11". You know what I mean?
And he can catch.
Yeah.
And he can catch. That's a huge component, right? Like the ability for him to be able to catch the football is something that we didn't get much from Alan Lazard. So being able to block and being able to go ahead and catch, 2 things you want in your wide receiver. So you got to enjoy that. Yeah. So then I got to ask a question. So let's say there's somebody we're not thinking about. Now this is a bit of a surprise, right? The Jets have surprises before, so let's not pretend like this will be, out of the ordinary. Is there a receiver or even a non-receiver player at 16 that nobody's really talking about that you think could be a sneaky best player available move? Like, what does a curveball pick look like at that spot?
Well, I'll give you three. I think the consensus curveball would probably be Ty Simpson at 16. I think we talked about Vega. We talked about Venga Ioane, but maybe it's not him. Maybe it's another offensive lineman, a Spencer Fano or Francis Mayanoa. That comes in and he's the pick. That would be a complete curveball. Or somebody on the defense. Like, I would hate it personally, but maybe they try to shore up something in the back end of the defense. Maybe they reach for a safety early or a cornerback or something like that. To me, I think that's the curveball. I know people are going to want to say Kenyon Sadiq, who I think would complement Mason Taylor phenomenally. And there's a lot of people in the scouting world that think that Kenyon Sadiq is the best receiving threat in the entire draft. But I just don't see, I just don't see them going tight end in round one. I just don't.
Okay. All right. So then so you're obviously going one of the top wide receivers, either going to be Tyson or Lemon.
Yeah, I think Tate and Lemon will be off the board. I don't think they reach 16. If you have targets on one of those guys, to me, I think you better plan on moving up from 16 and to go, from 16 to say 7, where Washington is. Washington only has 5 picks in this entire draft. So they would love to pick up some more capital. I think you can go from 16 to 7. It'll cost you 44, but that puts you in the range. If Mekhi Lemon's your guy, you got to make a move like that. Because I think Mekhi Lemon's ceiling is the Rams at 11 or 12, whenever 11 they pick.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk day 2. You know what I'm saying? We were almost already into the hour, man. So this thing flies by. So the Jets are sitting on some serious capital. People, we got 2 second-round picks, right? So and we got 2 picks also in the 4th round, if I'm not mistaken. So with those second rounders, those are massive because they're early second rounders. If you take Reese at 2, that receiver at 16, you come into day 2 with, I would say, real flexibility, especially with what they've done so far in free agency. So what's the strategy in the second round? Do the Jets keep stacking on defense? Do they go back to the receiver room? Or do they use that capital to address the offensive line for Geno Smith? Or maybe we're talking about trading back to add some assets into next year's draft where everybody is saying could be a generational type of draft.
Yeah, I think the trade back is probably, like, if they come out of this with Arvell Reese and just say one of those 4 receivers, I think that the Jets, are on the way to hitting a real home run, right? So, other than pick number 1, pick number 33 is the second most valuable pick. Why? Because all the guys, you have a whole day to kind of regather and reclass your board and see who's available. That's the pick that gets the most action. So if the Jets wanted to trade back from that pick, they would absolutely have the ability to do so. But I guess it's going to depend on who's on the board. Now, where do you go in that situation? Just say that they're not trading back. It gives you the opportunity. I don't think that there's glaring holes left on the roster. So, I think you can go offensive lineman. You can get another guard or an interior guy that can push or compete with, Dylan Parham and Josh Myers, and maybe moves Parham to center where he's had some success in the NFL. And you bring in a guard like, just say, Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon, who's after Venga Ioane is probably the next highest rated guard. There's a Chase Besantis from Texas A&M, a Jersey boy. You might bring him back home. Now, he's a different type of athlete, right? He's a completely different type of interior guy than Pregnon is or than Vega Ioane is. He's much more pass blocking, length oriented, technical skill more so than a people mover like the other guys are. So, you could think about doing that. I think you still need to add, and I definitely think the Jets will. I think that you still need to add to both the linebacker and the safety room. I think you need to add more competition. You still need a true single high kind of center field type free safety. You still need one of those on the roster. People thought it was going to be Minkah, and Minkah is going to play that role sometimes. Don't get me wrong, he will. But I think that's where the age is going to start to creep up sooner rather than later. He might have lost a step or two. So I think you can fare to get younger and more talented at that area. And another linebacker as well. You have like I said, I'm expecting Jamien Sherwood to really thrive in this defense, with these bigger guys up front that are keeping the linemen off of him. But if it doesn't work, you can get out of Jamien Sherwood's contract next year. And Demario Davis is 37 years old. So you're going to need to bring in some youth and some depth to that room. Now, Kiki Mayanoa, I think, has a chance to be a real depth piece, but I don't know if I'm ready to hand the reins over to him next year if you move on from Jamien Sherwood. So I'd like to bring in some competition in that room as well.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, especially with, like you said, Demario Davis being at his big age. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he fulfills the entirety of that contract.
Yep.
But Anthony brings up a very good point. You're seeing this all over the place. Some people have actually talked about Tyson.
I can't see it, so you're gonna have to read that for me.
So I got you. So if Simpson is still there at 33, would Dom C say they should make tank for Ty's day?
Listen, I think he's gonna be. To answer your question, yeah, if he's there at 33, it's going to be very, very contentious war room right there, right? Because I think there's a certain point, and that 33 might be the point where the value is too good to pass up, and it's a perfect blend where the value is too good to pass up for the player, and it doesn't preclude you from dipping your toe in the quarterback class next year in round 1, right? So yes, but to Anthony, answer your question, I don't think Ty Simpson's going to make it to pick 33. I think Ty Simpson's going to be off the board. You can mark this one down, Gunny. Remember I said this. He's going to be off the board somewhere between probably picks 25 and 32. There's a team that will trade back up into the first round. Maybe it's the Jets. More than likely it's Arizona. Less likely than the Jets, it's Cleveland, and don't rule out Miami, who has pick number 30 now.
Ooh,
if they sit there, because they just signed what's his face? Oh boy, from Green Bay. Why can't I think of Malik Willis? And in essence, that's just a 2-year deal, right? They might be able to bridge with Malik next year, let the kid sit, and then hand over, start Malik year 2 and hand over the reins to Ty Simpson. If they like Ty Simpson, 30 is the perfect place to get him. So I like Arizona first, but I think Miami is a really, really sneaky team in the Ty Simpson sweepstakes.
I mean, personally, I don't want him. I'm sorry. I look at Ty Simpson, man, and all I see is just another Mac Jones to me. I don't see where he has a superpower or he does anything to me that's at all exciting, right? Like, what does he do? He does a bunch of things okay. I would rather not waste an asset on him. And for some reason, my daughters are in front of me watching me right now as I'm. All right, so I'm gonna have to go bandage one of my daughter's heads here real quick. So,
oh no.
All right, last question. She's fine. Get out of the camera. So, last question, Dom. While I still have you here, man, I apologize for cutting things a little short.
No.
But okay, you know what? I do want to ask you this. So in the 4th round, people are kind of sleeping on like 4th round picks, right? And let's be honest, you can find some starters in the 4th round. So what position does this roster most need, would you say, on day 3 that you could add some depth at? And is it possible that we wind up finding a starter in the 4th round?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you wait for the offensive line that you can get a guy in there in round 4 easy. Like, to me, that's the landing spot if you really want to target a center, is that you could start with that pick 104 or whatever the Jets have there. Guys like Connor Lew might be there, who's coming off of an ACL injury, arguably might be the best center in the class. Jake Slaughter's another guy, Logan Jones. All these guys are really good centers that I think that, would push Josh Myers for the starting role. I think that they're day 4 guys. I also think that you're going to find a starting caliber safety in round 4 as well. So those are 2 areas that I think you can address and find a starter easily. And maybe I don't think it'll be the case, but I think that you could probably see the Jets, if they don't go the Ty Simpson route, that they might want to use one of those 4th rounders on one of these guys and bring some youth into the quarterback room.
Yeah, let's go, Drew Eller. All right, listen, I know what you said. I heard you, and it makes a lot of sense, but I'm over here betting on hope and upside, right?
That's right.
Hopefully, maybe Frank Reich can go ahead and help this kid put something together. I know that's probably a huge add. Okay, last question, Dom.
Goop.
Big picture. Picture, if this draft goes the ways you're projecting, right? Things are going good and you like what you're seeing. How different does this Jets team look by the time we kick off the 2026 season? This is going to be a funny one. Is this a team on the right track to potentially making the playoffs?
No, it's not. I think that, if you're asking me to say, is this team on the right track and going to make the playoffs with Geno Smith at the helm and Aaron Glenn calling the shots, I'm just not ready to.
I'm with you.
I'm not planting my flag on that yet. But I think that, if Muji hits a home run here, what you're doing is you're putting some really, really solid foundational pieces into play for Aaron Glenn next year or the coach who follows him. So
I'm with you. I look at this as an opportunity for this team to get better. I will say this: Darren Muji has impressed me. I don't think I was really expecting Muji to really be a GM. I thought he was going to be more of a co-GM to AG, but I feel like he's made some moves that just have put the Jets in a position to get better, in my opinion, faster. Of course, if those things come to fruition. I don't know if we've got the coach in AG. I think that's going to be the big question mark we're going to be analyzing this year. I went from being a believer to really doubting that he's going to be able to be the guy. But if you're putting together a roster that is going to have talent, I think you can entice the guy next year when you've got those 2 first-round picks and 3 first-round picks, and you've got the choice of the quarterbacks. I think that's going to go a long way into being able to go ahead and entice one of those top-tier coaching options into the building. So I'm with you, man. I don't think these moves are going to make the Jets a playoff team. I will say that I do believe the Jets did get better to where they're fighting themselves outside of that top pick conversation, because originally I had them first overall pick because I just wasn't a believer in AG and the roster as is. But they've made enough moves where I feel like they did it. Like you said, they've elevated the floor of this team. And that unfortunately might put us outside of that number 1 overall pick, at least on the Jets side. We still have the hope that the Cowboys suck, the Colts suck, or the Packers suck. And if that happens, we might still get the first overall pick. We got Nick Shine with the super chat. Appreciate both of you guys. Subscribe to this channel now. I'm about to kill these dogs. I apologize. These dogs are losing. My apologies, y'all.
Don't worry about it, bro.
Just walked into the door, and then the dogs, of course, were wilding out. Nick, I appreciate you, brother, man. Yeah, listen, trying to get the 2,000 subscribers. We're close now. I think we got a couple of subscribers during the show. Looking to go ahead and do a Joe Namath autographed jersey giveaway. We're going to be doing that giveaway once we hit that magical 2,000 number. That means one of you lucky first 2,000 subscribers is going to get that Joe Namath jersey. We'll be doing that, a live giveaway on the show once we get there. So again, appreciate you, Nick, for the shout out, and thank you for the super chat, brother. Nick also being a member of the fire team. Also join the channel so you can get one of these. All right, gotcha. We try to go ahead and put out an article at least once a week. I've been a little bit lazy the last couple of weeks because of the rodeo and stuff at work, but I do try to get an article out there once a week so that way the fire team members get some additional content. They also get extra tokens for our giveaways as well. So the fire team does bring some value, so check it out as well. But yeah, listen, Dom C, brother, man, listen, this is why I love chopping it up with you, man. And I got to bring you back on this channel more and more. I have hit over 100 plus in terms of viewership tonight on this show. Only the second time that has happened, so I appreciate your presence. You don't come in here with the safe takes, so this is why I love it, because you come in here with like legitimate like takes. So make sure you guys show Dom some love. You can go ahead and follow him at his handles. They're in the comments. As always, this is the Situation Report. We stay locked in, we stay locked on, and we stay Semper Gumby. So see you guys next time. Dom, any last words?
I love you, brother. Be well.
I love you too, brother. Hey, y'all have a good night, and then I'll see you guys next week for episode 81 of the Hangar Hangout.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost?